welcome back to the plant edit. And if this is your first time here, hi, my name is Kiara and I make plant videos. And today I'm going to repot. I have 4 plants to repot, and then while doing that I'm going to be discussing things I wish I knew sooner. So overall, like plant tips that work for me. Of course they might not work for everybody, but if not, that's a-okay with me. So yeah, let's get started. So the first plants that I have to repot are these 2 Alicasia, and I have my Alicasia Jacqueline and my Alicasia Polly. So I actually grew this Polly back from a corm, and like when I say a corm, I mean like one of like the huge like stubs. And sorry if you hear chirping, I'm pretty sure there's a baby bird stuck in our attic somewhere. I just realized it 3 seconds before starting this video. But with these 2 Alocasia, they are in Lechuza Pond. So I am going to put them into some self-watering pots. And I'm going to do this just to save my sanity pretty much. So first tip for plant care, anything plant related, is less is more. And when I say that, I mean like when it comes to pots, when it comes to how often you water, everything, less is more. And I feel like that's evidenced by me using these self-watering pots. So before, I would constantly mess with my plants, like I wanted to water them, and even like with them being in these little cups, I have to constantly water them. Sorry, I was like, did I push record? I did. But I have to constantly water them. And as you can see, like I had to let them dry up enough for me to repot them. And I'm actually just going to lay that down. And so like with self-watering pots, I don't have to do as much with them. Like I can just kind of let them do their thing and let that be that. So this is the, let me get this pot off here. So this is literally what I grew this plant from. Like that big, like hunk, chunk, whatever you want to call it. I grew it back from that. And I'm going to just be potting it back up in there. But anyways, like I said, less is more. With self-watering pots, you really don't have to do too much, which I thoroughly enjoy. I don't have to constantly check on them. I don't have to constantly make sure I'm not like overwatering, I'm not underwatering. As long as my reservoir has water in it, I'm cool. And that is exactly what I like. Less is more. And I feel like less is more, especially when it comes to watering plants. I think I've had less plants die from underwatering compared to overwatering. Whenever I tend to overwater, you get root rot, the roots get mushy, which is root rot, and then like you can see like an obvious decline in the plant. And obviously this depends on what plant you're fooling with, but I feel like they're a lot more forgiving if you underwater them compared to overwatering them. So overall, like I said, I just think less is more when it comes to plant care in general. And as you see with this self-watering pot, that's literally it. Like now my Polly's potted up perfectly. And I got these off Amazon, and I put the wick in there, and all I have to do is fill up this base with water, and she'll water herself. So I'm going to do the same thing with my Alocasia Jacqueline now. Next plant tip, or thing that I wish I knew sooner, is that slow and steady wins the race. So when I say that, I mean exactly what it means. I mean exactly that. For me personally, saying slow and steady wins the race just means that I do not need to rush and buy plants just because I want it in this very moment. And that by me choosing to grow out my plants and actually like take care of them, that is more important than me having like a trillion plants. And of course, like I think initially, if you're a plant person, in the beginning we're all in that, oh, gotta buy, because so I probably should have repotted this a long time ago. Y'all can see that. Sorry, that took me off guard, caught me off guard. But What the hell was I even saying now? Y'all done lost it. Caught me by surprise, caught me lacking. So, I, of course, and I'm sure other people are guilty of it, bought plants just to buy plants whenever I first got into house plants. Because, yeah, I want every single plant that I can get my hands on, because that is literally the goal. Like, I want plants to take care of. I need plants to take care of. And by doing that, I feel like I ended up eventually regretting a lot of the plants that I did buy and not really taking care of them how I know I needed to, because I just didn't really, they didn't give me that joy. And I think with plants in the beginning, it's like that dopamine that you get from getting a new plant, because it's like, oh, I have a new hobby. Like, I really regret buying plants that I didn't want, or I didn't see in the long run myself taking care of, just because I wanted plants. So like now I have several plants that like I kind of feel bad if I get rid of them, but I don't want them. Like, I don't want to take care of them. And obviously it's not the plant's fault, and it's not current me's fault, it's past me's fault. So I think, like I said, just being slow and steady with your curation of your plant buys and being intentional with your plant buys is way more important to me now than just having the ability to say like, oh, I have 200 plants. Like, yeah, I want more plants, but like now I feel like I'm a lot more selective with what I buy, because I don't want to just spend money, eventually not like the plant, and then I waste money because I let it die, you know? And I actually just potted this up, and as y'all can see, like, this root system is going crazy on top. So I think I'm gonna actually have to redo this. And when I say redo this, I just mean I need to break up the root system just a smidgen to get that lower down in the pot, if that makes sense. So let me redo this. And oh my goodness, there's like a shit ton of corms on this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 corms on here. I'm sure they will eventually turn into babies out of the bottom of this. I do not feel like trying to harvest these. I'm gonna call it harvesting because that's fun. I'm not gonna try to harvest these right now because I just really don't feel like doing that, especially when I have 2 other plants to repot. And with these Alocasia, this one I got from Lowe's, I think. And I'll put my phone for him. I got this one from Lowe's, and I instantly put it in water because I already knew how it was gonna get down for me. And when I say that, I mean I instantly knew I was going to kill it. So I put her in water, so she has water roots, so she's pretty dang hardy and good on her own. Like, I feel like this is another little tip, but this does not count. I feel like whenever I transition plants from soil to water, it's a lot easier to get them to acclimate to pond versus if I do soil to pond. I did soil to pond with the Alicasia Longiloba and killed it. Like, I don't know if it just was not, I probably put it into shock. I had the Longiloba for a little bit of time. It put out a new leaf and then it died. So I just don't think those regular roots were, you know, ready to be just tossed into soil or tossed into water like I did it. So that is another little tip now that I'm sitting here doing the pond, is to definitely start off with water roots and then like putting on in water and then moving the pond. And that might not be the case for you, but like that was the case for me. And so I've been like terrified to put any Alocasia in self-watering pots because of how the Longiloba got handled. But considering these 2 Alocasia have been in pond, well, this one, the poly, has pretty much been in pond its entire existence with me since being reborn. So I'm not really worried about that one, but this one I am a little bit worried by. And of course, like, I didn't really water them while I was waiting to repot them because I didn't want to spill water how I spilled the pond. So next I'll just need to fill these up with water. As you can see, like, it has a little opening there so you can see how much water is in it. And those will be golden. And I actually just recently moved those to south facing windows. And I think they're doing okay with it. I guess only time will tell. So that is it with my self-watering pots. And now I'm gonna switch over to repot some plants that I have in soil. And I don't know if I said it or not, but I got those self-watering pots off Amazon. It was like a pack of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was like 6 self-watering pots. So obviously I made a mess with the pond. So now I'm gonna open this up like so. And I think the first plant I'm gonna repot is going to be my Alocasia, my Monstera Tycon. So I will be putting it in this pot here, so it'll be making that jump. As you can see, I have clear pots, and that leads me into my next thing that I wish I knew sooner was, and that is use clear pots. So to repot this, I'm gonna be putting in my Molly's airway mix, and I really do not want to use that for this plant here for my Tycon, because the Tycon is so big, and I know eventually I will have to repot this again, and I'm not gonna keep using Molly's, which is fairly expensive compared to like my own homemade mix. The only reason I'm using it is because I was too lazy to get my homemade mix out. So clear pots, as you can see, you can like perfectly see the roots in there, and you can see that like this soil looks dry, and I feel like that is a superpower when it comes to plant care. And I say this because whenever I was using like black nursery pots or just nursery pots I would get from, this is gonna be hard to get out of here because she is in there. But anyways, whenever I was using colored nursery pots, it was hard to see what was actually going on in the soil. And so therefore, like sometimes I would like overwater or I would underwater, because I would just be like, oh, I watered it a week ago, not taking into consideration like the temperament of my house or the temperament of the plant. Whereas now I can like very obviously tell when a plant needs watering based on what the soil looks like, because I do have it in a clear pot. And I really think that clear pots changed the game for me. Like once I got clear pots, like I really stopped, this dang thing is not coming out. There we go. But once I got clear pots, I really stopped overwatering my plants. I stopped underwatering my plants, and I feel like my plants started to thrive a lot more because I was able to effectively see what the roots were doing. I feel like that led to a lot less plants dying too on my end, because I was able to see what was going on without having to constantly repot it or constantly having to fool with it. So I 10,000% regret not getting into clear pots sooner. But as much as I love clear pots, I kind of, there's always like a caveat with something, or always like a negative. And the negative with clear pots is that they do, like especially with my plants that are in pond, they eventually start to like have that algae build up on them. So with clear pots, I feel like you do need to have a cover pot on them, or they will get that algae. And that's pretty much just for like aesthetic purposes. Like if you don't want the algae on it, then you need a cover pot. But if you're like me and don't care, then clear nursery pot, no cover pot. And of course, like with not using a cover pot, you'll have to worry about like if you top water, like water going through. But outside that's nothing crazy. So that is something I wish I knew sooner when it comes to just like overall plant care and plant tips. Okay, so I have this aerial root in the back of her who is like coming up and like letting it, like if I pull the aerial root back, it stays back, but if not, it just like pops right up. So I gotta find out how to keep this aerial root in there. Okay, so I'm not a great multitasker, so I'm actually surprised that I've been able to kind of keep up all these things while I am trying to repot this. Okay, that might be it for her. Well, shoot. I actually am going to get a stake and stake her up. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I have this moss pole that I bought forever ago, like when I was first getting into plants. And would I use this nowadays? No, not typically. But I am going to use this to stake her up from behind because she is falling over. So like I just said, would I use that typically? No, but I will be using it today. So that goes into something that goes into my next thing that I wish I did sooner, and that's literally do what works for you. I feel like, of course, like when I got into houseplants, it was like, I don't know. I mean, it's been like something that people like been into, but I was like doing like a lot of research. I was heavy on like Reddit forums. I was heavy on YouTube. You know, just the usual things that people do whenever they start to get a hobby. And I would try things that other people said work for them, but I would not take into consideration things that I had going on, like my lifestyle, like when I work, when I would be able to tend to plants, my budget, their budgets, things like that. I never took any of that stuff into consideration. And so therefore, of course, a lot of things that other people weren't doing weren't working for me because it just didn't align. Not like, oh, it didn't align with what I feel, but it just didn't align with how I'm living compared to how they're living. So I really do recommend people do what works best for them. I've seen a lot of discourse on people saying like no drainage pots versus pots with drainage, things like that. And I really think like if you want to do no drainage, just test it out. Like test it out, do what you want. That works for you, perfect. If it doesn't work for you, now you know. Like I'm never one to be like, oh, you have to do, like I'm not concrete. I'm not one of those people like, oh, you have to do it this way. No, because you do what you want. Okay, perfect. And I actually want to, usually I'd use my shears. Oh shit, but I don't have those right here with me. So I'm gonna chop a couple leaves off. You can stay. But like these lower leaves, we gotta go there. Now they're gone. And now she looks a smidgen happier. I need to wait on like putting her up. I'm sure y'all see this, how this is like super tight just because of how she's leaning towards the window. So I'm actually gonna not push it and just leave her like that. And I think she looks cute. What are y'all's thoughts? If she looks cute, put in the comments if she looks cute. Compliment her, talk to her nice. I'm sure she loved that. And this last plant that I have to pot up is this Veitchii that I just got. Her new leaf finally unfurrowed and she's still super soft, but she looks amazing. And as you can see, it has like this like a soil mix in it that's not very like drainage friendly to me. So I'm going to be putting her in this, and this soil was actually from my Anthurium. It started with an F. I don't remember the name fully, but she's gone. She is dead. She lasted a little longer than I expected, but I honestly was forgetting to water her, and so she did not last too long at all. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Oh my goodness, roots are crazy. I don't want to bring it. Let me see. Beautiful. Okay, but anyways, what I was saying, like just do what works best for you. I think that's so important. Just really tweak your soil, tweak your watering schedule, make your own little self-watering pots. Like do whatever you feel works best for you, how you're living, and what your plants like. Like it's really not about like following trends, which I was guilty of when I first started into plants. Like of course, like I had like 3 pink princesses, I had a white knight. Like I was going hard with plants, and I actually regret it because like I don't feel like, obviously it's a learning experience, but I don't feel like I was giving those plants my all, and so like I brought those plants home and killed them. Would they have probably died at Walmart? Probably. But it's just like, damn, I could have let them die at Walmart, not my house. Like I probably took a little better care of them for a while than what they would have got at Walmart, but still it's the principle, you know? And then I think the last thing that I wish I knew sooner was to take pests seriously. So like I remember whenever I first started getting into plants, I was just like, oh, you know what, like I hear people talk about fungus gnats, I hear talk about spider mites, cool, you know, like, and I have my run-in with spider mites, I've had my run-in with fungus gnats, and I'm like, no big deal, you know, like I'm sure y'all seen on my Tycon I had this little trap, just things like that. Like I was just like, okay, you know, pests. And then I had my first infestation of thrip. That was not no joke, and I ain't played with the pest since. Thrip, that really is a different breed. I wish I was playing, but I'm not. It is crazy out there when it comes to thrip. I went to a plant store not in town, and I had bought, I think it was a philodendron sellum, and I was like, okay, cool, you know, she's a cute girl, but then like she wasn't growing, she was yellowing, and I just wasn't getting anything from her. And I'm like, this, you know, I'm doing what I need to do, like I'm taking care of her. Y'all, she had thrips so bad, and before that I hadn't seen, like I didn't know what thrips were. Like I'm just like, okay, whatever. But she had thrips so bad, I set her outside and let her die slowly. Sorry, I really did. But like when I say covered in thrips, and then you know what happened? Several other plants of mine were covered in thrips. So I 100% am like, take that seriously. And when I say that, like obviously I think we all like are mindful that we can and will eventually at some point in time get pests, but it's just like, it hurts when it hits a plant you really like it really does. Hold on, let me go get some spray so I can spray this off, because I'm not about to play with pests like I just said. I have my own personal spray, and I just have neem oil, peroxide, Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap, and I think that might be it in here. I don't remember, I made it a long time ago, but nonetheless. So I'm just going to spray these roots down, so that way if something's living on them, they're going to die. If they are a little bit root rotted off, like this one here, just come on off of it. So yeah, I'm just going to spray those down. That's good for me. And of course, me spraying that down, I just got the spray all over my my pot. But anywho, so back to what I was saying about pests. I think just like really take it seriously. Like I wish I would have started taking it serious. Oh, shoot. Damn it. I wish I would have taken it serious a lot sooner than what I did. Just because it's like you really, after that, you really have to be conscious. Like you get pests once and like now you're battling them for like 6 years. Like I don't like that when it comes to plants. Like that's the one thing I really don't like about plants is the pests. But obviously if I'm dealing with something that's in nature, it's gonna come with the territory. I'm going to put some systemic granules around the base of it. Yes, I just put maybe way too much, don't care. It's me versus them and I'm gonna win. So I really wish I just would have took pests serious the first time, versus having to learn a hard lesson, because baby, it is a hard lesson to learn when you gotta, whenever you feel like you're like losing this everlasting battle, and then you gotta toss like some of your favorites. I never want that to happen again. So I do not play when it comes to pests anymore. But I will say I am wanting to get into ping or pingicula. So I have been having some fungus gnats around the house, and I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, if I'm going to get a pest, I'd rather it be fungus gnats. I still have not encountered any mealybugs with my own plants. However, my brother and his girlfriend, I went to their house and she had an orchid. And of course, like, I feel like as plant people, we always are going to go and look at people's plants. Like, it's in us now at this point. So I go and I look at this orchid. I think she got it from like Walmart, she said. And there were mealybugs on it. And that's the first time I had ever seen mealybugs. And y'all, I don't ever want to see another one again in my life. I absolutely hated it. I was like, Mom, look, because my mom's also a plant gal. I'm like, Mom, look. And she said, what is that? I said, it's a mealybug. They're absolutely disgusting. I never want to see them again. Stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. And that's how I feel when it comes to pests. Stay ready. So as you seen, like, I didn't see any pests on this plant when I bought it like a couple weeks ago. But you see how I put the systemic granules in there without seeing any pests? Proactive. And that's what we need, is proactivity. So this is her now in her new little pots. And that's pretty dang cute, I can't lie. So hopefully I can get this BTI grown up to a big gal. But yeah, so those are just things that I personally wish I knew sooner than later, especially once I had to encounter all the trials and tribulations that I had to. Follow the trends if you want, don't follow the trends if you want. Figure it out. Everybody's house is different. Everybody's like growing environment is completely different. So I think as long as it works for you and your plants and y'all are both happy, then you don't have anything to worry about. That's all I've got for this video. I repotted all my plants that I needed repotted for quite some time, as y'all could tell by those root systems. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you have any plant things that you wish you knew sooner, feel free to comment them down, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.